Okay, so let's take a look at what we're going to be doing today. I just kind of want to introduce the program to you. I'm kind of assuming that is there anybody here that's used this at least a few times, or you've at least gotten in the program, and are there people that have never used it? Okay, great, that's good. So we have kind of a broad range of experience with Google Classroom. So we're going to look at what it is. Join a classroom as a student so you can see what your kids would see, things in there. We're going to talk about some of the experiences that West students have had with Classroom. We're going to look at some of the new features of Classroom. It's the Google people are really good. Well, the Google people are always trying to improve their products. Whether or not they're good at it or not, I guess is up to each of us as individuals. But then we're going to, like I said, take some time to kind of explore the product. Okay, so what is Google Classroom? You're going to hear it called an LMS and an CMS and all these technical things. The bottom line is that it's a program that will tie together all of the programs, Calendar, Drive, Docs, all that stuff, tie it all together in one place for you and your students. In a perfect world, I'm sure you could operate a completely paperless classroom if that's what you wanted to do using Google Classroom. Okay, it also integrates with many other programs. The Gale databases being one that both schools subscribe to. Quizlet's another. Zaption, WeVideo. I saw a list of 35 programs that it integrates with, and that's always growing. So more and more, when you go to some of those educational sites or programs, you'll start seeing the Google Classroom icon, and you can click on that and sign in, post, and to share to kind of mash those programs together, doing a lot of different things in the classroom as a result. So it's been out. I think this is the third school year that it's been out at one. Mostly because that's when our kids had the @students.bths201.org accounts. And then we were just the @BTHS. So since we were in two different kind of pools, two different sandboxes, it didn't work real well. I know at East, and I think maybe over here, we had a couple students that a couple teachers that we created student accounts for so that they could start using this, but that's less than ideal. Now that we're all together, and actually Google changed it, I think, couldn't you combine a couple then?
The first year you had to be in the same domain.
Yeah.
You couldn't use it at all. The second year we do domains to talk, and it was better. And here we are in the third year on pool, so it's easy. Yeah,
it runs pretty smoothly. So there is an app. If you have a tablet or a phone with you and you don't have that app, I would encourage you to maybe download that. That's how almost all of your kids are going to be using it, right? So even just while we're in here, if you want to get your phone out and download the app, you certainly don't have to. But if you want to get the experience that your students are probably going to have with it, then I would encourage you to add that app to your device. So another cool feature, if you're thinking about whether this is a good product for you to use, you can add co-teachers to your Google Classroom. To add a teacher's aide. I know a lot of our teachers at East will add the learning strategies teachers to their Google Classrooms. Sponsor a club, or if you're a coach of a team, you can invite co-sponsors or assistant coaches or anybody else involved. So they just have to have a 201 account. So if it's an off-campus person, that's not going to work. Okay. What it can't do, other than the email that you got from Curtis the other day about importing rosters from SIS, it's not really going to talk to SIS. So you'll see that you can grade assignments in Google Classroom, but you're still going to have to open up SIS in another window and type those grades in. It's not going to just automatically import grades into SIS for you, okay? And it's certainly not going to replace you, the teacher. You can't just post something and just let it ride and think the kids are gonna, do great. You still got to teach. There's still you're the most important role in the classroom, right, for the student success. So it's certainly not going to replace the work that you do as the teacher. Go ahead and jump into a Google Classroom. I've created one which you're going to join in the student's role. So if you would go to classroom.google.com.
We already have a Google Classroom. Will it just take us to our gap? I mean, we have to like log out of that?
No, you don't. No, you can stay in your account. Whether you've been there or not, if you already have Google Classroom, you're going to look for a plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. Join a class instead of creating a class. And then this is the code here to join the class.
Plus sign.
Should have a,
Oh, I see it.
So if you're doing it for the first time,
yeah,
where is the place you join the class?
there should still be a plus sign in the upper right. Let me take a look. Are you logged in? Oh, there you go. Sign in is right in the middle.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
You didn't password going into mine. Email her and tell her that I have to sign off.
Yeah.
We have homework due Monday. Come on. Your wine is dry. Okay, so once you're in there, let me find mine. Once you're in there, it should look like this. And you can scroll and look around at the things that are in there, but take a minute to take the BW Google Classroom pretest up at the top of the stream. That's what they call the body of the whole thing. This is the stream. So you're not going to be chastised if you miss the 3 questions or anything like that. It's
My son wants the student.
Oh, that's a reading thing. Oh, very nice. Oh, it's gonna check all the reply. I didn't read the question.
I didn't either.
I didn't know that as a student. One more right into it. Trying to keep fast.
all right. So Mary helped me out earlier this week. We sent this poll out to all the students at West. Just a little disclaimer. There were about 120 kids that replied and the 120 most tech savvy kids on the campus, right? So these results might be a little skewed, but it at least gives us a jumping off point. So these were questions that I asked, the same you saw in the quiz. I also asked them a couple of open-ended questions. What do you like about Google Classroom? And what don't you like about Google Classroom? So we'll talk about that. But here were the results. One shows us that of the kids that replied, about 80% of the respondents have used Google Classroom in at least one class this school year. And I think this is really important for us as teachers to look at, because anytime there's a new product to use, a lot of us are scared to death that we're not going to be the expert in the classroom, right? What if the kids know more about this than me? And that's a scary thought, but it's okay. This tells us that your kids know how to use this. They know how to navigate the program. Set it up and they get in there, they're going to know what to do. You can kind of let them be the expert a little bit. Question was about extracurriculars. We're not in this same result over across town. Not really fully being utilized just yet by club sponsors, coaches, that sort of thing. Potential is there, because as I said, the purpose of the program is to tie all those Google apps together, and it's a great place to kind of a home base for your team or your club, your activity. But some people are using it, but most of the respondents haven't had that experience yet. And then I asked them to compare Google Classroom to other programs. Schoology, what do you prefer? The majority said they prefer Google Classroom over those other programs, but it's also notable that about a fifth of the respondents said they haven't used any of those programs yet. So they don't have anything to compare it to, okay? And then I just copied and pasted some of their replies. I chose ones with better grammar than some of the others, but this is what they like about Google Classroom. And again, there were 100-something replies, and I just tried to kind of scour that list and pull the ones out that were the most common answers. The number one answer was the ease of it all. It's easy to stay organized. It's easy to communicate. It's easy to access. They like the reminders on their phones. They get push notifications when something is posted, when something is due, right? Another popular answer was this one. If they miss school and their teachers are posting notes, posting assignments, they can still keep up with the class if they miss. That was probably an honors student. They can print stuff out if they want. It works with Google Calendar, so if you're using that feature, they can see what's coming up. Okay, probably the one personally that I like the most is the second one. It's probably an introverted student that said, I like how everyone can be involved. You'll see, or if you haven't noticed already, students can post and comment and participate in discussion that way. And obviously we have a lot of kids that aren't comfortable doing that in the classroom. I didn't make a slide for this, but the number one response for what don't you like about Google Classroom, far and away, was there's nothing I don't like about it. That was far and away the most popular answer. There were a couple that said, that had kind of a couple of things they didn't like. But their answers reflected more of maybe user error than actually the gripes they had with the actual program itself. So if you've looked at this before, the product has changed quite a bit. If it's been a while since you've gotten in there, they've had a lot of improvements. So some recent improvements or recent features that they've added, they now have a move to the top. So again, that stream in the middle, when you put something new out there, it automatically goes to the top. Well, it bumps everything else down. And if you're working on a long-term project, or if there's something you want to be more notable up at the top of the stream, you can kind of rearrange things by moving it to the top. I'm going to come back to these PDF ones. The Guardian summaries. You can invite parents and guardians into the classroom. Now, they will not go in as students. They're not going to be able to open up the work and complete it for little Johnny and then turn it in. All that they're going to be able to get are emails, either, what did we find out, Curtis, daily or weekly? Okay. they'll get emails about their student, and it's going to say, Johnny turned this in, Johnny didn't turn this in, here's what's coming up next week if you're posting things ahead of time. So it's kind of like the digital handbook, basically. I'm a former LS teacher. I would have loved this if we would have had this in LS,
The
right?
guardians choose the frequency. The other.
Okay, yeah, so when they accept the invite, they can decide what they want to do, all right? And then another nice organizational tool that they added was you can add a topic or like a tag for each thing that you post. So if you're using this all school year long and you're using tags or topics for, say, chapter 2, you can just click on chapter 2 and all the other posts will kind of become hidden, and you'll just be looking at the chapter 2 relevant posts, right? And then jump back up here, another new feature. This is great for probably math teachers and science teachers, is that if the teacher posts a PDF, and I know you're not going to be able to all see this, but I'll kind of pass it around. So I'm logged in as a student here. If the teacher posts a PDF, nope, that's the wrong one. Find it. Here it is. PDF, typically you wouldn't be able to do anything with it, but if I'm on a phone or a tablet, a device, there's a little pen icon up here, and it's going to allow me to mark up the file. I can't see it very well. Circle answers, or like I said, in algebra and math and science, I can write out my formulas or show my work that way. You just hit the disk to save it, and then on the next screen, there's a button that says turn it in. So then on the teacher's end, you'll get that same file back, and you'll see the students marking them.
So as far as you can upload, is that just like Google Slides and Google Docs, or can I use my PowerPoint?
Great question.
My Word document?
You can upload any file type.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Now that PDF thing, that's not going to work at your PC. That only works on a mobile device. So again, I encourage you to download that app and look at the differences between the two platforms.
Hey, to take Carrie's comment, a suggestion that I've noticed over the years, because kids are more and more using phones, like to look at like your notes, whatever. If you can save your PowerPoint to PDFs, then they can open them from any device, whereas a kid may not be able to open a PowerPoint.
Or you can convert it to a Google slide.
It looks exactly like it. Right.
Yeah, if you keep it in, bottom line, if you keep it in PowerPoint format, it might get a little wonky on a phone or a tablet. Yeah. So, yeah, both great options. Are there any questions or anything at this point? Okay. Well, let me show you a few things from the teacher view. Let me find it here. That it? Probably. So you'll notice once you join or create a classroom, the landing page will look very different. You won't see the little chalkboard background or the, I'll come back to this, Curtis, in a minute. So here's the teacher view. I'm going to start with this plus sign in the lower right, which you'll see once you're in as a teacher. This is where you can start building and posting things. So the plus sign gives you 4 choices. You can create an announcement. Class, we're going to meet in the computer lab tomorrow. Create an assignment and attach files. You can create a question, and then it kind of operates like, what's the program? Blackboard, is that the program, like the discussion board? Or you can reuse a post. I'll come back to that in a few minutes.
Is there a way to link this to their email, so if you send out an announcement, it'll go to their email too?
They can turn notifications on or off, yeah. So the pretest thing, I posted that as an assignment. In the teacher view, I have 22 students enrolled in my class right now. 19 have completed, 3 have not. And I can click in there and see who's done, who hasn't finished, that sort of thing, right? And start managing things that way. Just kind of scrolling down just real quickly. I put the slideshow I had up, I left on there for you guys if you want to refer to it for future reference. The PDF example I showed you, and then at the bottom of the stream, really good resources from Google. The top one is What's New in Classroom. They'll kind of make a monthly post of changes that they're going to make or new features that they're rolling out. And then the Google Classroom help page is linked there too. So just a couple of resources for you.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I already answered it. Once I'm logged in, now I'm your student, and I want to go back to your class, I have to log in again, or will it be over in my Google Apps and I'll just be able to click on Classroom and go in?
So yes, you're right. You can go to the app launcher, the little grid, and choose Classroom, and you'll have a tile for VW Tech Food Friday. That'll be there until I remove you. What's that?
She could choose to unenroll by default. It's going to be her.
Yeah.
Click on the waffle line, you have to hit more of the bottom. There, that one.
So I'm just going to point out a few other things before we kind of start clicking around a lot. I'm going to start over. There's 3 choices here: Stream, Students, and About. At About, I forgot to tell the other group this. So under that About tab, they have an Add Class Materials. This is a great, and that'll be static. That's going to stay right there. It's not going to move around like the stream. This is a great spot to put your syllabus, the periodic table, whatever type of resources you have that kids might need to refer to throughout the school year, right? You can put more information about your class. This is also where you can add a co-teacher. Earlier, you can actually add up to 20 teachers in a classroom. I don't know why you would ever need to do that, but you can add multiple co-teachers. Under students, we'll talk about inviting students in just a second because I'm going to have Curtis discuss one of his things.
Inviting teachers things.
Yes.
In science, we have like 8 people to teach biology. Would it just be a way for us to look at what each other's doing?
I would think in your department, just professionally for your department, that would be a great place to post resources. Sure.
Not that we can't share it separately, but I just wanted to real quick to see where's, who's.
And she's saying she could go and look at the other teachers' active classroom.
Yeah.
They'd have to invite you in.
That's what I'm saying. If I invited all the other biology teachers.
Then
and
they
other
could
teachers,
all access.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
mess with anything.
Right.
But
Right.
at least they can look at that.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Students tab. Actually, let me just show you something on the stream. You'll see that there's some comments already. Salty. So in this class, sorry, Carrie, maybe I should have proofed that first.
Oh, here comes the food delivery.
In this particular class, you guys as the students have obviously the freedom to post and to comment. So Nick started a new post with a very innocent, and then it turned into something else with the class comments, right? But you'll also see that underneath my assignments and announcements that I posted earlier. You should see.
This sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
It is 2 a.m. I hate you.
Right. And that brings me to the point I was going to make. It depends on your classes and what you teach and how much freedom you want to give your kids and how much you trust them. By default, though, students will and comment. Now you can change that for the whole class.
Like keywords.
You won't get, no.
But you can.
But you can see who posted it though, so.
Yeah.
So here are some of the things you could, here are the other options. You can leave it so that they can only comment on what you post, or you can remove the ability to post and comment altogether. The other option, and probably the best option, is if I know that, you know, Connie is posting all sorts of inappropriate things, I can put a check next to her and mute just her. So if there's a student, sorry, Connie, that I used you as the example, but you know who that kid is in your class that's going to abuse that privilege.
Where did you get to that?
So I'm at students box for the student.
Does that hide existing comments that they've made?
I'm not sure.
Can you
Great
delete
question.
comments
You
in
can
case they
save my
post something
comments, that's the
inappropriate?
last comment.
Yeah. You, and Constantine.
Okay, so that's the pop-up that you get.
Yes. Unless you can
So you can delete it.
Now I can go in and delete it though. Okay.
Now, what about,
Yeah.
curse words and bad language, is that automatically censor out, or?
No, No, you are the censor.
Okay.
Yep, you still have to police all of that. Okay.
But the good thing is you have evidence.
Well, you do have evidence, and
Okay.
just from a classroom management point of view, you want to tell the kids that, hey, we're using Google Classroom, but that's an extension of the four walls in room 221 or whatever, right? I mean, the same rules apply. We'd like to think that they all know that, but they're going to need that reminder, right?
I think we should have the default not comments. Personally,
I think it
Sure.
really depends on your classroom.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Very, if you got a great group of students, it could be a great learning tool.
Right.
Especially that introvert.
right,
Well,
absolutely.
just with, I have Schoology, just the kids be able to comments and stuff on there, I'm able to screen them all, but they ask each other questions, like, hey, where did you guys find the numbers to the city guys? So they throw a message back, like, almost doesn't say like page 70, you know, and it's nice because then that has big time decreased the amount of emails I've gotten about crap, because they can just use each other as resources. It's awesome.
So we'll talk a little bit now about inviting students in. So you saw the method I used at the beginning of the hour. I posted the code, right? And it's up on the board there. Posted that. You went out to either the app or the site and entered the code. Another built-in tool to invite students is by using either your contacts or the district directory. Time consuming if you haven't created groups for each of your classes. But then Curtis, as you guys probably saw in a recent email, worked his wizardry and came up with a good tool to import rosters from SIS. So Curtis, do you want to?
So I've set up a process where right now I'm doing an opt-in. I'm a little nervous to click go for everybody. Not everybody's going to want it, and it'll run for hours and hours. I've got about 30 teachers now that are taking advantage of this. If you want to email me your name, I'll get you added to the list, no problem. So if you look at his top left, that most recent classroom that's created there, I created that class for Joe. Therefore, he has the option to accept and decline it. It's what they call it in provisional state right now. It says 0 students, but when I do it for you, it will actually have your synced Tyler SIS roster for each of your classes. If you get add drops, it will keep those synced. So your classroom will always be up to date with the most current batch of students. Joe's students would not see that class at this time because he has not clicked accept. Once he clicks accept, it shows up on the student screen automatically because they're already members of that class. So if I do this for you, you then have the final say so of when you go live. So right off the bat, there's, compared to doing everything manually, your con that didn't really quite click with me until I accepted this last hour. Each class, in order to sync, has to have a unique code. Basically, I'm doing that using the school year and the course number, section, and everything. So it's going to create a new one every school year. If you teach 2 semesters of the same course with different batch of students, you get a new one for each semester. Now you can go into an old classroom and you can reuse a post and it sends it to the classroom you choose. But if you want to have a 3-year long running feed, you're not going to have that. So to Austin says, heck yeah, I would start over every summer no matter what. So, but that's a teacher-specific choice.
So it would be, to start over, it would just be a matter of going to this year's class, let's say for next year, and just hitting certain buttons and it would send it to.
Yeah, I'll show you that here in a
But it'd be
second.
pretty
One post at a
easy.
time, but yeah.
Because you're right, I wouldn't want all the kids' comments or maybe individual things, but I want all the like resources for the most part, or, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another,
Well, sorry, one other thing is syncing, so it would be like if I teach first, second, third, and
You
then,
have 3 classes.
and then, okay, so everybody.
Some teachers don't like that either.
Well, but I do because I teach biology and anatomy, so I wouldn't want all of my kids come together.
but you might want, if you have 3 anatomy classes, you might want one for each section. And that's really, that's, do you want?
If you have 3 sections in the same class, you can post an assignment to all 3 sections at the same time.
Ah,
Dun, dun, dun.
so there are ways around, this is too many options now.
So I-
definitely recommend keeping the rosters separate.
To all 3, yeah. no.
I sent out an email earlier. There's a Google form, he's asking if you'll put names in there, because otherwise I will lose the email. But, so right now, opt in, and if you opt in, you're gonna get a screen full of each, you're gonna have that many classes created with the approve and decline. And they sync every morning at 4 AM, so every weekday morning.
So what you were saying about reusing, that's when I go to the plus sign,
Yes.
the top option is reuse post. So if it's, yeah, I'll show you here. It'll basically open up all of you, which, well, let's see. I gotta select the class. I have a million classes that I'm a part of, but select the one I want.
Can you do more than one at a time, like if I wanted to send it to 2 other class periods?
Well, you can post it like all 3 anatomy classes at one time. Is that what you're asking?
So I did this at,
I'm sure I can figure it out too, it's just, yeah.
I did this at East a couple months ago. I did the same thing we're doing today, created a Google Classroom. Just this morning before coming over here, I went and reposted assignments from that. It took me a fraction of the time. So you still adjust the due date. Carrie?
So there is the ability to mesh the classes, like I have 2 sections of civics, I'm all on the same Google Classroom. I can choose them.
You can create just one civics and invite both rosters in.
Okay, you just
That's
want
just you doing it.
Yeah, Curtis's program won't be able to do that.
I'm like, you already created, you already uploaded mine for me. If
You
ask
did
me
give me
to.
your name, yes, so you have 5 sections or however many.
Okay, am I able to alter that to mush them together?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would want to just send an email to the kids with a link and a code and tell them to do it themselves, right?
Yeah.
Or you can sign them up through this.
Right, yeah.
But then they're also gonna be all in one big class.
I want them to be, yeah, because with my discussion-based assignments, it's like a forecast.
More kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go and you're gonna see all those classes that I auto-created for you. And if you're like, hey, I'm not gonna use these 3, you just click decline, the students will never see anything, and they'll be off your screen.
Just a couple of other tips. If you're going to create an assignment, the screen that you'll get, and you can type in instructions and the name of the assignment and all that, and you can select the due date. You can even, select what time you want it to be due. You want. like I said earlier, the icons in the lower left, you can attach a PowerPoint file, a Word document, a PDF, something from your drive. You can attach a YouTube video if you're doing a flipped classroom kind of a thing. Watch this video on your own. And then you can also link to a site, and you can post, you can attach multiple items. It's not like you can just those. You can attach multiple items. But if it's let's say it's a worksheet that I have in Google Drive. So I'm going to go find that file in Google Drive. You want to pay close attention to this drop-down menu over here in the lower right. By default, it's going to say students can view the file. So they'll be able to open it up, look at it, print it. But there are two other options. If you choose students can edit the file, that means your whole class is going to be on one file, right? The option you're probably going to usually choose is make a copy for each student. That's like the digital Xerox machine. It's going to take that one worksheet, that one file you have a copy, and Austin's going to have a copy, and Curtis is going to have a copy, and what they type will only be on their local copy. It's not going to be shared with everyone. And what's the other thing that's beautiful about it is it will automatically rename the file to include the student's name on it. At worksheet 1, when Mark opens it up, it's going to say worksheet 1, Mark Brockman. So it's real easy for you and nice and clean and neat for those of us who are a little OCD-ish to see all the files with the same naming system, okay? Sure that you pay close attention to that. The other kind of just tip I was going to point out, if you're going to use Google Forms and post quizzes, it's a great tool. Really, we could do that in another food talk session just on forms and quizzes. Maybe we will someday. But be sure to either put a question on there that says, what is your name or what is your email? Or in the options when you create the form, make sure you have that checked to collect email address. I already heard a story on your campus, and I've seen it happen a few times at East, where a teacher will spark me or call me and say, oh my gosh, I just gave a quiz last hour, but I forgot to have it collect the email addresses. And now they have 30 quizzes that were turned in and no names attached to the 30 sets of answers. So it's a nightmare. Make sure you can't go back and figure out who did what. You're going to have to have them take the test again, quiz again. So make sure you do that, okay?
I would personally recommend doing this in addition to collecting their name, or maybe not even collecting their name back and they type their email address in wrong, it becomes a big headache. Yeah. This will collect their email address automatically, they'll be signed in, and it makes it really easy.
And obviously you're going to know their name when you see their email address, right, through their username. So
Well, it's kind of, you gotta play around with it.
you got to play around with it. My advice to you would be to pick one assignment or one project, depending on what you teach. You know, next week is a little short, but try it early on second semester, see if you like it. I definitely wouldn't walk out of here today think I'm going to put my entire second semester curriculum on there. Don't do that. You know, some room to play around. Give yourself the freedom to make a few mistakes with an assignment or two, and then decide, you know, how much you want to dive into the deep end of the pool. Connie? I can.